the battle between DeWanna Bonner, Alyssa Thomas versus Asia Wilson. Question. Are we talking about three of the four most unlikable athletes that this league has to offer? Question mark? In one damn finals?
A'ja Wilson was expected to make a statement on the second game of the WNBA Finals. The league's golden star, the current MVP, and the public face of the Las Vegas Aces. But what she witnessed infuriated her more than boisterous crowds and crowded stalls. Silent rows, empty seats. In an arena that appeared to be half sleeping, cameras were having trouble getting energy. And Wilson didn't hold back as his annoyance reached a boiling point.
Well, I got some bad news. Number one, I don't think none of y'all are doing any pre-WNBA prep. I don't think none of y'all are fired up for no games. None of that. In fact, I believe y'all don't care. I think y'all care about the drama around it. I do believe that. But I don't think you care about the events itself.
According to rumors from the courtroom, she directed her ire at Caitlin Clark. The finals were haunted by the ghost of the rookie star, who wasn't even here yet, because everyone recognized the truth in their hearts. Fans don't watch when Clark isn't playing. And it was a profound realization for A'ja Wilson. Her status as a superstar and not just an athlete served as a sudden reminder of how fleeting her fame is.
And judging by ticket prices, neither does anybody else. Wow. If ever there was proof that the Caitlin Clark fans / Fever fans are now the overwhelming majority of the fandom, look at ticket prices for finals games.
It was intended to be the WNBA season's high point, the second finals game. The Aces were trying to hold onto their championship. For months, the league had been promoting the new age of women's basketball while A'ja Wilson was at the height of her career. But when the cameras moved over the stands and the lights went down, it became painfully clear what was happening. Not every seat was occupied. Actually, a lot of them were empty, because they knew the optics would only confirm what fans online had already begun to notice. Even broadcasters appeared reluctant to zoom out too far. No one showed up.
Holy hell, there's $35 seats right there. Right there. Plenty of good seats available. $46, $42.
It was brutal on social media. Within minutes, pictures with mocking captions of full rows left empty went viral. Momentous occasion. The alleged matchup between Wilson's Aces and Alyssa Thomas's son abruptly appeared to be a scrimmage, if you can find the fans. Even the arena employees didn't seem to be involved. There simply wasn't the kind of enthusiasm that characterizes championship basketball. The music was blasting from the sound system. Although cheer squads performed, everything seemed rushed, as if the league was attempting to create excitement that the audience didn't experience. Wilson was also able to sense it. The crowd is what athletes eat. The loudness, the adrenaline, and the chants. However, her intensity changed to annoyance when she looked up and noticed patches of gray seats that were empty. How could the result of months of preparation, a finals game, feel so empty? How could a supposedly expanding league still have trouble filling stadia for its main event?
This should scare the league to death. With DeWanna Bonner, Alyssa Thomas, and the Mercury in the finals against A'ja Wilson and the Aces, will you be locked in watching this series? Question mark. Yes or no? Hit the poll. 4% of brave souls said yes. 96% said hail to the no.
The website was humiliating for Wilson, who is a fierce competitor, in addition to being disappointing. The comparison that followed hurt even more. When Caitlin Clark performed at Fever home games earlier in the season, fans started sharing screenshots of the sold-out venues and hundreds of dollars in scalped tickets online. The floor trembled with energy.
Guys, if the Fever and Caitlin Clark was playing in a finals game, let's say against the Mercury, with all that drama around there, would there be a single ticket less than $300? Now, I mean, honestly, a single ticket less than $300. I don't think so. I think you'd have courtside seats go for $5,000.
Even with the reigning champions playing, the league's most crucial showdown was unable to sell out. Without Clark, the message was quite apparent. The excitement subsided. Despite their best efforts to remain upbeat and concentrate on solid foundations and outstanding defense, everyone knew the truth. The quiet.
You are not invested. You are not interested in watching this BS transpire on your television sets.
As soon as casual fans realized Clark wasn't present, they tuned out, causing alarm in the league's ratings department. The WNBA underestimated how rapidly fans had switched allegiance, despite having placed a large bet on its veterans to win the championship. They had stopped following teams. They had Caitlin Clark in their sights, and that insight blazed for A.A. Wilson.
If Caitlin Clark was playing, if she was in these finals along with the Fever, now you know why we conveniently did not hear anything about the ankle, blah, 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 and I won't be coming back until the season was basically over. The WNBA was very aware of what that was going to do to ticket prices, etc.
She should have been able to handle this. Her chance to demonstrate that she didn't require the Indiana rookie to attract attention was in the finals. Wilson's face, however, spoke for itself as the chairs remained vacant and the ruckus subsided. Annoyance, perplexity, and possibly even anxiety that her position as the league's spokesperson was ending. Even though the finals were approaching, the attention had already shifted.
I can't wait to see the ratings for this. Because I did see where that semifinals game against the Aces and the Fever drew like 1.8 million viewers, I think, is what it was. Will they get half of that for this finals? Will they get half of the viewership for this finals?
By the midpoint of the second quarter, cameras captured A.A. Wilson become increasingly agitated with everything around her, not just the scoreboard. Low energy, missed shots, and a non-caring audience. Each basket seemed like a laborious task. Each timeout served as an unwelcome reminder that there was something lacking from this finals. The breaking point then arrived. Several courtside sources claimed that Wilson was observed yelling in exasperation, slamming her towel, and even making subtle jabs at the league's fixation on Caitlin Clark. Her message was unambiguous. She thought that everyone else's attention had been diverted by the fervor surrounding Clark. Even during the championship, Wilson had previously alluded to his resentment. She discussed the media imbalance earlier in the season, describing how tiresome it was to hear Clark's name in every interview. However, it struck in a different way this time. Her comments were amplified by the arena's quiet. She might point the finger at the marketers, the fans, or even the schedule. However, she knew in her heart that Clark had permanently altered the WNBA, and not always in a way that was advantageous to her. Social media fans noticed her attitude right away. A flood of tweets stated, "AIA is mad at the wrong person, and don't blame Caitlin because no one wants to watch this boring finals." Others noted that Clark had never once voiced any complaints over media pressure, while Wilson was occupied with venting. Despite being the star of the season, the contrast was that one player demanded attention while the other earned it organically. Wilson's feelings were incorporated into the plot as the game progressed. Fans noticed something different from the fire and intensity that commentators emphasized. Insecurity. The annoyance was evident each time the camera focused on her face following a bad call or missed rebound. She wasn't merely battling her rivals. She was battling the ghost of Caitlin Clark's fame, an unseen presence. Even though Clark wasn't playing, her name was trending on the internet the whole night. Without even taking the court, Fans made jokes about how Clark had outsold the finals. Although harsh, it was true. The buzz over someone sitting at home in Indianapolis was too great for the WNBA's biggest night. Wilson, who had devoted her career to establishing herself as one of the most powerful figures in women's basketball, must have found that irony intolerable. Anger, however, has the power to blind. Wilson's annoyance became a headline rather than his seizing the opportunity and gaining new admirers by his performance. She had to be a graceful leader for the league. However, viewers witnessed an athlete become agitated. And while she continued to look at those vacant seats, one thought appeared to be the source of each frown. Perhaps the issue wasn't the supporters. Perhaps all they were doing was following the player who restored their faith. Despite Caitlin Clark's absence from the floor, she dominated Game 2 like a ghost from which the WNBA was unable to break. Eventually, her name came up in every online discussion. The responses to a video clip of A.A. Wilson's annoyance weren't about shooting percentages or defense. They have to do with Clark. This place would be packed if Caitlin were playing, fans wrote. Or, this finals feels like preseason without her. They weren't mistaken either. It was extremely evident how different Clark's influence was from what the league was providing at the time. Clark had made every venue a spectacle throughout the regular season. All of a sudden, people who had never watched women's basketball before were purchasing jerseys, packing venues, and setting new television ratings records. She brought belief rather than just attention. However, the league appeared vulnerable without her. The thrill, the fervor, and the viral moments had vanished. After the Fever's season concluded, it seemed as though Clark had taken the WNBA's pulse with her. Wilson couldn't overlook that bit. She had served as the league's spokesperson for many years. She was the epitome of consistency, had won MVP awards, and led her team to championships. However, none of it produced the same cultural impact as Caitlin Clark's one rookie campaign. No superstar, particularly one as competitive as Wilson, can handle that kind of reality. It must have hurt personally to watch the finals draw half-empty arenas while Clark's name went viral. The league also did not assist. From the beginning, the WNBA had pounced on Clark, taking advantage of her popularity in the media. Whether they acknowledged it or not, Wilson, Bonner, and Thomas were pushed to the sidelines while the more established stars became bitter. Attendance wasn't the only source of the ire that broke out in Game 2. It had to do with hierarchy. Wilson wasn't in the center of the league's orbit for the first time. Clark was, and the way WNBA players perceived themselves in the spotlight was completely upended by that change. The elephant in the room was even subtly alluded to by pundits. A finals without Clark feels like a lost chance, according to one analyst. An uncommon on-air recognition of everyone's thoughts. Fans weren't interested in strategy or statistics. They listened in search of connection, emotion, and stories. And sitting on the sidelines at the moment was the league's biggest emotional hook. The evening ended with questions rather than a celebration. Was the WNBA prepared to deal with what Clark had let loose? When its biggest draw wasn't even in the finals, could it make it? The answer was difficult for A.A. Wilson to accept. She is capable of outscoring everyone on the court. However, she was unable to overshadow the one player who, that night, altered the entire ecosystem of the league without ever touching the ball. The response was swift and harsh when the league announced its preliminary Game 2 viewership figures. The semifinals, which included Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, saw a dramatic drop in ratings. Not because many were anticipating record highs, but rather because the finals had fallen to figures that resembled preseason broadcasts. Social media was ablaze with incredulity. For a lot of supporters, it validated their statements during the entire season. Without Clark, the WNBA wouldn't have anything to sustain the hype that it had built around her. Throughout Reddit, TikTok, and Twitter, the remarks were unrelenting. "I had no idea that the finals had begun." A fan made a joke. "They ought to have invited Caitlin to sit courtside," another person said. "That might help fill the seats." The humor was honest, but scathing. Even ardent basketball fans acknowledged that they hadn't watched. The supposed culmination of months of competition, the finals, had vanished from the sports discourse. The severity of it was captured in a viral poll. Just a small percentage of the thousands of respondents, less than 5%, said they were watching. 95% of respondents said no. Many others mentioned that they only paid attention when Clark was playing. It wasn't indifference. It was a rejection. It was a message from the fans. Instead of the politics and attitude that had supplanted the league's more established stars, they desired connection, excitement, and entertainment.
Hot.
The similar narrative was presented in the highlight video's comment section. Nobody was debating who would take home the title. They were making fun of the notion that it was important. One user said, "I'd rather watch paint dry." Another person said, "Awaken me when Caitlyn returns." Some even went so far as to remark that the finals appeared to be a charity function that no one attended. The league was now surrounded by humiliation instead of celebration. It must have hurt inside the WNBA offices. The league had devoted years to demonstrating its independence and the fact that it didn't require a hero to garner support. But the illusion vanished as soon as Clark moved away. Even sponsors appeared to be more subdued. The crossover moments, the celebrity shoutouts, and the hype are all gone. It was intended for the finals to be a talent show. However, the only topic of conversation was who wasn't present. That reality must have felt intimate to A.A. Wilson. After battling her way to the top and receiving all the praise, she now stood in front of half-empty stands as everyone else watched in silence. Her legacy was now being compared to Clark's rookie season by fans who had previously lauded her dominance. Poor marketing wasn't the only reason why people weren't there. It demonstrated how strange the league had grown from its viewership. By the end of the second game, the buzzer was overshadowed by the stillness. Officially, the WNBA Finals had faded into the background. And that quiet wasn't just disappointing, it was tragic for guys like A.J. Wilson. Despite the WNBA's hopes that Game 2 would be dramatic on the court, the actual action took place online, and it wasn't good. Instead of simply ignoring the finals, fans made fun of them,